when we think about China, the first words that come to mind are not free market.
I think we got a freer market, and
it's got to be a concerted effort, because when you, for example, when things start falling apart, you better figure out how you're going to deal with it. This is what we were saying. Like, what are you going to do when jobs start going away? Like, what happens? You better figure it out, because otherwise it's just everything's going to fall apart.
I think a lot of companies bought into AI too fast, especially the ones that didn't develop it on their own.
So products and services using AI have more benefits than drawbacks. Look at China, and then look at the US. So Henry, help us out here, man. What's going on in China? Like 83% of Chinese in this survey, which is a really good survey. I looked at how they put it together. 83% of Chinese are saying, hey, this is actually, there are more benefits than drawbacks. Like, what did Chinese know that the rest of us don't know?
I think it's because we got free market back home. Here in America, you got only a few companies that do the AI, and they basically shove the product in your throat. Like, for example, Microsoft. Penn State used the Microsoft services for the all the logins and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So whenever you go into the Microsoft Office, the app, it automatically prompts you to the chat.
Yeah.
I don't want that. I want a product that I want. Like, it's hard to...
Wait, so you're saying that there are far more Chinese companies that are developing things?
I'm not too sure the exact number, but there are definitely far more smaller companies that do the AI.
No, because when we think about China and we think about the US, when we think about China, the first words that come to mind are not free market. Right?
I think we got a freer market than some part of America.
Some parts of the market.
I mean, I don't want to get into the details, but generally speaking, in China, well, because it's a socialist country, so there are some safety nets to being in that society. So there are concerns about your job getting taken over by AI, but you get to live. So
Got you. And there's also the greater ability to control things. Yeah. Like in Korea, for example. Korea is a small nation. You have 51 million people. Korea is very homogenous as an entire system. So it's a lot easier to get people to jump on board with decisions that got to be made. When your government says, hey, listen, we're doing this, and everyone, Koreans are much more likely to say, okay, we're going to follow. We were talking about this last night, right? We're going to follow. You tell us what we got to do, we're going to follow it. In the U.S., China's a similar way, and the Chinese government's going to just hammer it. Be like, no, you are not doing that. We're going to do this other thing. Americans are just don't tell us what to do, man. And so this is a bit of a problem when we get things like AI.
I don't know, as a high school student
in
Korea, or who's Korean, I think we are really following the same path mostly, but at the same time, the younger generations are trying to stand up. Recently, maybe.
Trying to follow your own, do your own thing.
A little more rebellious, or they're kind of expressing their own thoughts, own opinions, rather than just following the government's stances.
Yeah. But you're going to want to be careful about that in terms of AI, because you really it's got to be a concerted effort. Because when you, for example, when things start falling apart, you better figure out how you're going to deal with it. This is what we were saying. What are you going to do when jobs start going away? What happens? You better figure it out, because otherwise it's just everything's going to fall apart. Why do you think it's so low in the U.S.?
In America, our market and just our economy, we just feel we're being, it's just very predatory. We feel the companies that own everything, and the company, top companies in our country are always just trying to maximize profits. And I feel like we see more of the drawbacks than the benefits, because it's, instead of having it be like something really like, oh, this is really cool that like it can do my homework for me, we're thinking more about like the fact that it's like, oh, they're cutting corners, they're cutting funding for people, people are losing their jobs. I think the way that our media is very anti-AI. So I think just because the media is so anti-AI, like creators online can get canceled for partnering with AI, like things like that. I feel like because our media and our society is seeing more of the drawbacks than the benefits, like that's why it's so low, in my opinion, because it's just like we really do demonize like the companies that run our country.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah, and our government.
And our government, yeah.
And Americans, we don't really trust that our government's going to hold things under control. Like, look at the decisions that get made. Like, we're not trusting that you all got this.
The entire time everyone was talking, I was kind of just thinking, and I feel like AI is kind of like a domino effect with us, because yeah, jobs are getting taken, and like everyone in here, like we all use AI for something, and I feel like the more we rely on it, the lazier we get. And then I feel like with that, it's kind of just like AI is rising as we're AI is kind of like going up as we're going down, and then more and more people are starting to see that, so they're getting angry, and they're seeing that like AI isn't really helping us like we thought it would really. And like there's so many drawbacks, I feel like, especially here, because a lot of people are so reliant on it, like with jobs, with homeworks, like even like for like exams or whatever. Like people rely on it so much that now like they're getting through school using AI, and then when they get out, now those are like the future doctors, future lawyers, like like people are gonna be in position like of power, but they've used AI for everything. So we're kind of just like, wait.
So you're wondering about people's ability to really think and think critically.
I think a lot of companies bought into AI too fast, especially the ones that didn't develop it on their own. There's a lot of companies that, as soon as AI started to get to a point where it could do more tasks, they instantly, laid off a whole bunch of their employees and tried to implement AI systems. Those same companies are now facing a lot of problems where the AI is making really big mistakes. There was one logistics company where an AI basically took over the sales center and gave like maybe 3 different people an 80% discount on like $100,000 orders because for whatever reason, it just thought that was okay. So now a lot of these companies that bought into AI too fast, they're really starting to struggle. Some are going bankrupt just because it's unreliable.
Okay, well here's one way to think about this, right? People often buy into what's the newest and the biggest and the best and everything. So people are like, oh my God, this is going to change everything. And then things unfold much more slowly than we imagine, which is kind of which is very much what you're saying. We've
already kind of hit sort of a plateau with LLMs. Yeah. There's only so much that this kind of AI can really do.
And then, so now we're going to go to the next level. Right, so you're going to keep hitting these plateaus. And then maybe what happens when we hit the plateaus is we start thinking, hey, maybe this isn't such a big thing, and maybe we can relax, and maybe it's not going to be such a huge change.